Most people don't wake up one day and decide to waste their life. They do it slowly, quietly, in small decisions that feel harmless at the time. Another day of waiting, another excuse, another promise to start tomorrow, and before they know it, years are gone, and the life they imagined is still just a thought in their head. You don't lose your life all at once. You lose it in moments of comfort, distraction, and delay. When you choose ease over effort, when you choose entertainment over growth, when you choose familiarity over becoming the person you know you should be. This audiobook is your wake-up call, a mirror held up to your habits, your time, your choices, not to shame you, but to shake you. Because the most painful realization is not failure, it's realizing you never truly tried. If this message makes you uncomfortable, it means it's doing its job. Because your life is happening now, not someday, not later, not after you feel ready. Chapter 1. How time is slipping through your hands. Time is the only currency you are given at birth, and it is the only one you never earn back. Every morning you wake up with a limited supply of it, yet most people spend it as if it has no value, throwing it into conversations that lead nowhere, habits that drain energy, and distractions that leave the mind emptier than before. The tragedy is not that life is short, but that people make it shorter by wasting it unconsciously. You scroll, you wait, you hesitate, and while nothing seems to change, everything is changing. Your body is aging, your mind is forming beliefs, your future is being shaped, and the version of you that could have existed is slowly being replaced by the one you keep choosing to become. Time does not announce its departure, it leaves silently, and by the time you notice the loss, years are already gone. The most dangerous part of wasted time is that it rarely feels dangerous while it is happening, because comfort disguises itself as safety, and routine convinces you that this is simply how life is supposed to be. Most people believe they are getting ready for life, unaware that life has already started without their permission. They wait for confidence before acting, for clarity before committing, for motivation before moving, not realizing that confidence, clarity, and motivation are created by movement itself. The longer you delay, the harder it becomes to start, because each day of inaction trains your mind to accept stagnation as normal. You begin to live in preparation mode, always planning but never building, always dreaming but never doing. Time slips through your hands, not because you are busy, but because you are busy with things that do not move your life forward. You fill your schedule with noise, so you do not have to face the silence that would force you to confront your potential. But deep inside, you know the truth. You were not created to merely exist. You were created to become something more. There is a silent moment that arrives in every person's life when they realize that nothing is coming to save them. No one is going to suddenly hand them the life they want. No perfect moment will appear. No external force will arrive with permission to begin. The moment you accept this, your relationship with time changes. You stop treating it like something you own and start treating it like something you are borrowing. Every wasted hour becomes painful. Every delayed decision becomes heavy. You begin to understand that your future is not something waiting for you. It is something you are building with the minutes you choose or refuse to use. Time does not judge you, it simply responds. If you feed it effort, it grows your life. If you feed it excuses, it grows your regret. And the cruelest part is that it does this faithfully, without mercy, and without pause. Most people do not lose their dreams through failure. They lose them through comfort. They become too comfortable to fight for the life they once wanted. They allow their days to blur together, telling themselves that tomorrow they will try harder, tomorrow they will change, tomorrow they will focus. But tomorrow is not a real place. It is a story the mind tells itself to avoid the discomfort of action today. Each time you choose comfort over effort, you teach your brain that your future is negotiable. Over time, this creates a dangerous identity, the person who always means well but never follows through. And years later, when the weight of lost time becomes unbearable, you do not recognize yourself anymore. You wonder where your ambition went, where your fire went, where your courage went. It did not disappear. You traded it, slowly, for temporary relief from discomfort. When you are young, time feels endless. You believe you have plenty of it, so you spend it recklessly. When you get older, time becomes precious, but by then, much of it is already gone. This is why awareness is everything. The moment you become aware of how fragile time truly is, you stop tolerating what steals it from you. You begin protecting your mornings, your focus, your energy, your attention. You stop giving hours of your life to things that do not serve your growth. You stop negotiating with habits that destroy your future. You begin making decisions with long-term consequences in mind instead of short-term comfort. Awareness does not make life easier, but it makes it meaningful because you are finally living with intention instead of drifting through existence. Look closely at your days, and you will see your future hiding inside them. Your habits today are the blueprint of your life tomorrow. How you spend your mornings, how you use your evenings, what you choose when no one is watching, all of it is shaping who you will become. Time is not waiting to reveal your destiny. It is actively creating it with your cooperation or without it. The version of you that exists 5 years from now is being formed right now by your choices. Not by your goals, not by your hopes, not by your plans, but by your actions. And every time you waste a day, you are voting against the life you say you want. That is why wasted time is not a small problem. It is the foundation of every regret you will ever carry. There is a point in life when you realize that the calendar is not just counting days, it is counting opportunities. Each date that passes is one less chance to build something meaningful, one less chance to change direction, one less chance to become who you know you could be. And the scariest part is that nothing stops you from wasting today, except your own decision not to. No alarm rings when you are off track. No sign appears when you are drifting. You must develop the discipline to notice when your life is being traded for comfort, distraction, and fear. Discipline is not punishment, it is protection. It protects your future from the weakness of your present self. Time also reveals something uncomfortable. Most people are not afraid of failing. They are afraid of trying and discovering they were capable all along. Wasting time becomes a shield against responsibility. As long as you do not try, you never have to face the possibility that you could have succeeded. But this protection comes at a terrible cost, a life unlived. And one day, when time is no longer abundant, the question will not be whether you failed, but whether you ever truly tried. The pain of effort is temporary. The pain of regret lasts a lifetime. Every moment you hesitate, time continues, indifferent to your fear. Your life is not measured by the number of years you live, but by what you build within those years. A short life filled with purpose is infinitely richer than a long life spent drifting. When you stop wasting time, you stop wasting yourself. You become deliberate. You choose growth over comfort, action over hesitation, responsibility over excuses. You begin to treat each day as something sacred, because it is. It is a piece of your existence that will never return. And when you finally understand this, the way you live changes forever. The truth is simple and uncomfortable. If you do not control your time will control you. Your environment, your habits, your emotions, and your fears will decide your future if you do not. This is not motivation. This is reality. You cannot build a meaningful life on the foundation of wasted days. You must decide what matters, commit to it, and protect it fiercely. Time will either be your greatest ally or your greatest enemy, depending on how you treat it. Eventually, the moment will come when you look back on your life. You will not remember most of the things that once distracted you. You will not care about the opinions that once controlled you. You will not value the comfort that once kept you stuck. You will only care about whether you became the person you were meant to be. And that answer will be written in how you used your time. Right now, you still have a choice. This moment is not gone yet. This breath is still yours. This page of your life is still being written. What you do next will decide whether time continues slipping through your hands or whether you finally learn to hold it, shape it, and use it to build the life you were born to live. Chapter 2. The Comfort Trap That's Destroying Your Future. Comfort is one of the most seductive enemies of human potential because it never looks like danger when it arrives. It feels like rest, safety, and relief from pressure. It tells you that you deserve a break, that you have time, that tomorrow will be easier. Slowly, quietly, it builds a cage around your life without you even noticing the walls. The comfort trap does not destroy your future in one dramatic moment. It erases it through thousands of small decisions that feel harmless at the time. You choose the couch instead of the work, the screen instead of the skill, the excuse instead of the effort. Each choice seems insignificant, but together they form a lifestyle that keeps you exactly where you are while the world keeps moving forward without you. And the most dangerous part is that comfort does not feel like failure. It feels like peace, until one day you realize your life has become smaller than your dreams. The comfort trap convinces you that growth can wait. It whispers that there will always be more time, more energy, more chances. It makes delay feel logical and urgency feel unnecessary. But while you are waiting for the perfect conditions, life is training you to accept mediocrity as normal. Your mind begins to associate effort with pain and ease with safety, so it automatically resists anything that challenges you. Over time, your ambition weakens, your discipline erodes, and your standards quietly fall. You stop expecting more from yourself, not because you lack ability, but because comfort has slowly convinced you that you do not need to try as hard as you once believed. This is how people with enormous potential end up living ordinary lives, not through lack of talent, but through the steady influence of comfort that slowly steals their hunger for more. Every time you avoid discomfort, you reinforce the belief that discomfort is something to fear. But discomfort is not your enemy, it is the doorway to growth. The gym hurts before the body becomes strong. Learning is confusing before the mind becomes sharp. Discipline feels heavy before it becomes freedom. The comfort trap blocks this entire transformation by keeping you in a cycle of short-term relief and long-term regret. You feel better for the moment, but worse about your life over time. The more you chase comfort, the more uncomfortable your future becomes. And the more you avoid the struggle of becoming, the harder it becomes to escape the version of yourself you are settling for. Comfort offers you an easy today at the price of a difficult tomorrow, and most people accept the deal without ever reading the cost. One of the cruelest effects of comfort is that it steals your sense of urgency. You stop feeling the pressure to change because your life feels manageable, even if it is unfulfilling. You survive, so you settle. You function, so you stop fighting for more. You confuse survival with success and stability with growth. The comfort trap does not demand that you fail, it only requires that you stop pushing. And the moment you stop pushing, you begin to decay. Your skills stagnate, your confidence weakens, and your future becomes predictable. Predictability feels safe, but it is the graveyard of greatness. When you choose the predictable path, you slowly close the door on the extraordinary life you were meant to build. Comfort also distorts your perception of time. It makes you believe that the present moment is all that matters, that the future will somehow take care of itself. But the future is built by the choices you make in the present, not by the hopes you attach to it. Every comfortable decision today becomes a heavy burden tomorrow. Every hard decision today becomes freedom tomorrow. The comfort trap flips this truth, making you chase ease now and pay later. By the time most people realize what comfort has cost them, they no longer have the energy they once had, the courage they once had, or the belief they once had. They wonder where their fire went, not realizing they slowly traded it for convenience. Your environment feeds the comfort trap constantly. Technology, entertainment, convenience, and instant gratification surround you, offering escape from effort at every moment. With a few taps on a screen, you can avoid boredom, avoid silence, avoid challenge, avoid yourself. The modern world is designed to make you comfortable, not great. And unless you consciously fight against this current, you will drift into a life that feels easy but empty. Comfort will take everything from you that it does not give back. Your discipline, your ambition, your self-respect, and eventually your peace. Because deep down, you always know when you are wasting your potential. Breaking free from the comfort trap requires a brutal level of honesty. You must be willing to admit that much of your suffering is self-created. You are not stuck because life is unfair. You are stuck because you have chosen comfort over courage too many times. You cannot change your future without changing this pattern. Growth demands discomfort, and discomfort demands decision. The moment you choose to lean into what is hard, your life begins to shift. The moment you choose to avoid it, your life begins to shrink. The comfort trap also convinces you that you deserve reward before effort. You reward yourself for plans instead of results, intentions instead of action. You celebrate survival instead of progress. Over time, this trains your brain to seek pleasure without contribution, satisfaction without struggle. This weakens your character and damages your ability to commit. True confidence is built by doing hard things consistently. Comfort robs you of this process and leaves you with fragile self-belief that collapses at the first sign of difficulty. When you look at people who build extraordinary lives, you will always find the same pattern. They repeatedly choose what is difficult over what is easy. They choose discipline over indulgence, focus over distraction, growth over comfort. They are not superhuman, they are simply unwilling to surrender their future to convenience. The difference between the life you admire and the life you are living is not luck. It is the daily choices you make when no one is watching. Your future self is either being protected or betrayed by the decisions you make today. Every comfortable shortcut is a betrayal. Every disciplined step is protection. The comfort trap does not collapse your life all at once. It slowly drains it of meaning, until one day you wake up and realize you have been living far below your potential. And that realization is more painful than any discomfort you ever avoided. If you want a future that excites you, you must be willing to live a present that challenges you. There is no other path. Comfort will promise you peace, but it will give you regret. Discipline will demand your effort, but it will give you everything else. The choice is made daily, in small moments, when no one is watching, and that is where your future is truly decided. The moment you break free from the comfort trap, your life begins to open. Your mind becomes stronger. Your confidence becomes real. Your purpose becomes clear. And the future you once feared no longer feels impossible. It feels earned. Chapter 3. Why distraction is the new addiction. Distraction has become the most socially accepted form of self-destruction in the modern world. Unlike substances or obvious vices, it disguises itself as productivity, relaxation, and connection. You tell yourself you are staying informed, staying entertained, staying busy, when in reality you are avoiding the deeper work of building your life. Every notification, every video, every message pulls your attention away from your goals, your discipline, and your future. The mind becomes trained to crave constant stimulation, and in that craving, it loses its ability to focus, to sit with discomfort, to think deeply, and to commit to long-term effort. Distraction does not demand your money or your body like traditional addictions, but it consumes something far more valuable, your attention. And whatever controls your attention controls your life. What makes distraction so dangerous is that it never feels harmful while it is happening. You do not feel like you are wasting your life while you are scrolling, watching, or consuming content. You feel occupied. You feel engaged. You feel temporarily satisfied. But this satisfaction fades quickly, leaving behind a hollow sense of time lost and energy drained. Over months and years, this cycle trains your brain to avoid anything that does not deliver immediate reward. Hard work, focus, discipline, and patience become uncomfortable because your nervous system is addicted to quick stimulation. This is why people struggle to read, to study, to build, and to sit alone with their thoughts. Their mind has been rewired for distraction. Distraction also numbs emotional awareness. Instead of processing stress, fear, loneliness, and uncertainty, you drown them in noise. You fill every quiet moment with sound, every empty space with activity, every uncomfortable feeling with entertainment. This prevents healing, growth, and self-understanding. You become a stranger to your own inner world. Over time, unresolved emotions accumulate beneath the surface, creating anxiety, restlessness, and dissatisfaction that you cannot explain. And rather than addressing the root, you return to more distraction. This creates a loop. Discomfort leads to distraction. Distraction leads to more discomfort. And the cycle continues until years pass without real change. The brain adapts to whatever you feed it. When you constantly feed it stimulation, it loses the ability to find satisfaction in effort. It begins to resist anything that does not provide immediate pleasure. You start abandoning tasks halfway, switching goals frequently, and chasing new ideas without finishing old ones. This weakens your confidence, because every unfinished commitment becomes proof to your mind that you cannot be trusted. Self-respect erodes quietly, not through major failure, but through thousands of broken promises to yourself. And once self-trust is damaged, every area of life begins to suffer. Distraction also destroys your sense of time. Hours vanish without memory. Days blend together without meaning. You reach the end of the week feeling exhausted, but unsure why. You have been busy, but not productive. You have been active, but not advancing. You confuse movement with progress and consumption with growth. The result is a life that feels full, but empty at the same time. Full of content, conversations, and activity, yet empty of direction, achievement, and fulfillment. This is the quiet tragedy of distraction. Your environment has been engineered to maximize distraction. Every platform, every app, every system is designed to capture your attention and keep you engaged for as long as possible. Your focus is being harvested, and unless you actively defend it, your mind becomes property of whatever demands it most. You cannot build a meaningful future in a world that constantly pulls you away from the present. You must choose what deserves your attention, because if you do not, everything else will choose for you. Distraction also weakens your ability to tolerate discomfort. Growth requires staying with difficulty, boredom, frustration, and uncertainty long enough to move through them. Distraction teaches you to escape instead. The moment something becomes challenging, you reach for stimulation. This prevents skill development, emotional resilience, and mental strength. You remain dependent on external comfort rather than building internal stability. And a person without internal stability cannot sustain long-term success. The more distracted you become, the harder it is to change. The mind becomes scattered, restless, and reactive. You lose the capacity to think deeply about your life, your choices, and your direction. Reflection becomes uncomfortable because your brain craves constant input. Without reflection, you cannot course correct. You drift instead of deciding. You react instead of leading. And slowly, your life becomes something that happens to you instead of something you shape. Breaking the addiction to distraction requires discipline, but also courage. You must be willing to face silence, boredom, and yourself. You must be willing to experience discomfort without escaping it. In that space, clarity emerges. You begin to understand what you truly want, what you need to change, and what you must commit to. This is where real power begins. When you reclaim your attention, you reclaim your life. Focus becomes your greatest weapon. With it, you can build skills, create opportunities, strengthen relationships, and shape your future. Without it, you remain trapped in cycles of consumption, reaction, and regret. The choice is not between entertainment and discipline. The choice is between distraction and direction. Your future will not be destroyed by one massive mistake. It will be eroded by thousands of moments of lost attention. Protect your mind, guard your focus, choose your life. And the moment you begin doing that, the addiction loses its grip and your potential begins to breathe again. Chapter 4. The Cost of Always Waiting for Tomorrow. Waiting for tomorrow is one of the most expensive habits a person can develop because the payment is made with their life. Tomorrow feels safe, distant, and full of possibility, while today feels heavy, demanding, and uncomfortable. So you postpone. You delay the hard work, the difficult conversation, the disciplined routine, the uncomfortable decision. And in that delay, your future quietly slips further away. Most people do not fail because they are incapable. They fail because they keep postponing the moment when they finally commit. The danger of waiting is that it does not feel like destruction while it is happening. It feels like patience, planning, and preparation. But behind that disguise, it is slowly draining your momentum, weakening your belief in yourself, and teaching your mind that your goals are optional. Every day you wait, the gap between who you are and who you could be grows wider, and that gap becomes harder to cross. The mind loves the idea of tomorrow because tomorrow does not require action. It allows you to feel hopeful without being accountable. You can imagine success without doing the work. You can picture change without making sacrifices. You can promise yourself improvement without facing discomfort. This creates the illusion of progress while your life remains exactly the same. Over time, this illusion becomes a prison. You begin to live more in your imagination than in reality. Your dreams feel vivid, but your actions feel weak. You become emotionally attached to who you might become, yet unwilling to become them today. And that emotional attachment to potential becomes a substitute for real achievement, leaving you stuck in a cycle of intention without execution. Each time you postpone action, you reinforce the belief that your present moment is not important. You teach yourself that what matters is always somewhere else, sometime later. This disconnects you from your own life. You stop showing up fully to today because you believe your real life will start tomorrow. But tomorrow keeps moving, always one step ahead, never arriving. And before you realize it, years have passed inside this mental loop of delay. The cost of waiting is not just time, it is the erosion of your confidence, your discipline, and your self-respect. When you repeatedly choose not to act, you send a message to yourself that your goals do not deserve your effort. Waiting also creates fear. The longer you avoid something, the bigger it becomes in your mind. What once felt challenging now feels overwhelming. What once required courage now feels impossible. This is how people end up trapped by the very things they once believed they could handle. The problem was never the task itself, but the distance created by delay. Action reduces fear. Waiting multiplies it. Every day of postponement adds weight to the problem, making the eventual effort feel heavier than it ever needed to be. The habit of waiting slowly kills urgency. Urgency is the fuel of growth. Without it, life becomes passive and reactive. You stop leading your life and start responding to circumstances. You drift into routines you never chose, commitments you never intended, and roles you never wanted. Waiting makes your future something that happens to you instead of something you build. And when you finally feel the desire to change, you often find yourself too tired, too busy, or too uncertain to move. One of the cruelest effects of waiting is how it distorts your memory. You forget how motivated you once were. You forget how deeply you wanted more from life. You forget the fire you once felt in your chest. Waiting numbs that fire. Over time, your goals stop feeling urgent and start feeling optional. And anything that feels optional eventually gets abandoned. The cost of waiting is also paid in missed opportunities. Every moment you delay, someone else is moving, someone else is learning, someone else is building. Life does not pause while you prepare. The world rewards those who act, not those who wait until they feel ready. Readiness is created through motion, not through hesitation. Waiting also steals your identity. You start seeing yourself as the person who will do things instead of the person who does them. This subtle shift in self-image has powerful consequences. You begin expecting less from yourself. You accept lower standards. You tolerate situations that drain you, all because the part of you that acts has been weakened by the habit of delay. Breaking free from waiting requires a radical shift. You must treat today as the only moment that matters, because it is. The future is built entirely from present decisions. No matter how inspiring your vision is, it means nothing without action now. The smallest step taken today is more powerful than the greatest intention postponed. When you stop waiting, your life begins to change immediately. Not because everything becomes easy, but because you finally take responsibility for your direction. You begin to feel momentum. You regain self-trust. You remember what it feels like to move towards something instead of away from it. The moment you choose to act, you step out of the shadow of your own potential. You stop living in preparation and start living in purpose. And that choice, made once, then again, is what separates those who dream about their lives from those who actually live them. Waiting is expensive, action is difficult, but regret is unbearable. And one day you will look back and realize that the cost of waiting was far greater than the cost of trying. Chapter 5. Choosing Growth Over Entertainment. Entertainment has quietly replaced purpose in the lives of many people. What once was a way to rest and recharge has become the center of existence. Hours are spent consuming content, watching stories, laughing at jokes, and following the lives of others, while their own life remains unchanged. The danger is not entertainment itself, but the way it slowly steals your ambition. You begin measuring your days by how entertained you feel, rather than how much you have grown. Growth requires effort, focus, and discomfort. Entertainment offers instant pleasure without responsibility. Over time, the brain learns to choose the easier reward. This is how potential slowly fades, not through dramatic failure, but through constant escape into comfort and amusement. The more you prioritize entertainment, the less room you leave for the work that builds your future. Growth is not always exciting. It is repetitive, challenging, frustrating, and often lonely. You train when you do not feel like it. You study when you are tired. You improve when no one is watching. Entertainment promises relief from these pressures, but it also delays the results they create. Each hour of distraction feels harmless, yet those hours accumulate into months and years. You reach a point where you have consumed thousands of stories but created none of your own. This is the quiet tragedy of modern life. People know everything about everyone else, yet very little about themselves. Growth demands presence. Entertainment encourages escape, and whichever one you choose more often becomes the direction of your life. When entertainment becomes your primary source of fulfillment, your standards slowly decline. You stop expecting greatness from yourself because you are constantly being entertained by the achievements of others. Their success becomes your stimulation, their adventure becomes your excitement, their life becomes your substitute. Meanwhile, your own goals remain untouched. This is how people become spectators of their own existence. They watch instead of build. They scroll instead of create. They react instead of decide. And eventually, they forget what it feels like to work towards something that truly matters to them. Choosing growth requires you to say no to many things that feel good in the moment. It means closing the screen when you could keep scrolling. It means going to sleep early when the world is still awake. It means turning off the noise and sitting with your goals long enough to confront what you must change. This discipline feels uncomfortable at first, but it gives birth to something powerful, self-respect. And self-respect becomes the foundation of confidence, peace, and inner stability. You cannot entertain your way into a meaningful life. You must build it day by day, choice by choice. Entertainment also reshapes your attention. It trains your mind to crave constant stimulation. Growth requires sustained focus. When your mind is addicted to stimulation, focus becomes painful. You become restless, impatient, and easily discouraged. You abandon tasks quickly. You chase novelty instead of mastery. Over time, this weakens your ability to commit to long-term goals. And without long-term commitment, nothing great can be built. There is a difference between rest and escape. Rest renews your strength. Escape avoids your responsibility. Entertainment often disguises escape as rest. True rest prepares you for action. Escape delays it. If you want to grow, you must learn to recognize when you are genuinely recovering and when you are simply avoiding the work that matters. Growth begins the moment you choose responsibility over relief. When you start prioritizing growth, your life begins to feel different. Your days become purposeful. Your confidence becomes rooted in progress. Your identity shifts from consumer to creator. You no longer depend on constant stimulation because your own progress becomes the reward. This shift is subtle but transformative. You stop chasing pleasure and start building fulfillment. Growth also teaches you patience. Entertainment teaches you instant gratification. Patience is the soil where greatness grows. Without it, you abandon projects too early, relationships too easily, and yourself too often. Entertainment trains you to expect immediate reward. Growth trains you to invest without guarantee. The second path is the only one that leads to a life you respect. As you choose growth more often, your tolerance for mediocrity decreases. You stop settling for small versions of yourself. You begin demanding more from your habits, your time, your effort. This is not about becoming harsh. It is about becoming honest. Honest about what your future deserves from you. Your future self is watching the choices you make today. Every time you choose growth over entertainment, you send a message forward in time. I am building something that matters. That message compounds. Confidence grows. Direction sharpens. Your life begins to move with intention instead of drift. One day, you will not remember the videos you watched, the shows you finished, or the hours you spent distracted. You will remember the life you built, the obstacles you overcame, and the person you became. That is the reward of choosing growth. Entertainment will always be there. Opportunity will not. Choose wisely. And the moment you begin choosing growth consistently, your life starts becoming the story you once only watched in others. Chapter 6. Break the patterns that keep you stuck. Most people do not realize they are trapped because their prison has no visible walls. Their days look normal, their routines feel familiar, their habits seem harmless. Yet inside those patterns is the invisible force that quietly controls their future. You wake up, repeat the same behaviors, respond to the same triggers, and return to the same comfort zones, convincing yourself that this is simply how life is. But these patterns are not neutral. They are either building you or breaking you. Every repeated action is a vote for the person you are becoming. The problem is that most people repeat what is easy instead of what is necessary. Over time, these choices harden into identity. You do not just follow the pattern, you become it. And once a pattern becomes part of your identity, escaping it feels like losing yourself, even if that self is the very thing holding you back. Patterns are formed in moments that feel insignificant. One skipped workout becomes a habit of avoidance. One excuse becomes a lifestyle of delay. One comfort decision becomes a permanent standard. The mind loves familiarity because familiarity feels safe, even when it is slowly destroying your potential. This is why change feels threatening. You are not just changing a behavior, you are challenging a version of yourself that your mind has learned to protect. Breaking patterns requires you to confront this internal resistance with clarity and courage. You must be willing to become unfamiliar to yourself. You must be willing to feel lost for a while, because the old version of you cannot carry you into the life you want. The most dangerous patterns are not the obvious ones, they are the subtle habits of thinking, reacting, and believing. The way you talk to yourself when you fail, the way you avoid responsibility when things get difficult, the way you rationalize delay and justify comfort. These mental patterns shape your actions, and your actions shape your future. Until you change the way you think, your life will keep repeating itself. You cannot outgrow the version of yourself you keep feeding, and every thought you allow becomes another brick in the structure of your identity. Breaking a pattern requires awareness first. You must see your life as it is, not as you wish it were. You must be honest about what is working and what is not. This honesty is uncomfortable because it removes the comforting stories you tell yourself. But without it, you cannot move forward. Awareness creates a gap between who you are and who you could be, and in that gap, change becomes possible. Once you are aware, the next step is decision. You cannot drift into a new life. You must choose it. This means choosing discomfort over familiarity. It means choosing discipline over impulse. It means choosing long-term respect over short-term relief. These choices are small, but they are repeated. And repetition is what rewrites your identity. Your environment either strengthens your old patterns or supports your new ones. If you stay in the same spaces, with the same influences, surrounded by the same triggers, you are fighting an uphill battle. Change requires structure. It requires boundaries. It requires systems that make the right actions easier and the wrong ones harder. Willpower alone is not enough. You must design your life around the person you are trying to become. There will be moments when you miss the old pattern, not because it was good for you, but because it was familiar. You will feel tempted to return to it during stress, boredom, loneliness, or uncertainty. This is where most people fail. They mistake the discomfort of growth for danger and retreat back into the identity that feels safe. But the safe version of you is the one that kept you stuck. Breaking patterns also means breaking agreements you made with your past self. Agreements like, "This is just how I am," or "This is good enough." Those agreements were formed with limited information and limited courage. You are allowed to outgrow them. You are allowed to demand more from your life. You are allowed to rewrite the rules of who you are. The process is not fast. Patterns took years to form, and they take time to dissolve. But every day you stay committed, your new identity becomes stronger. You begin to trust yourself again. You begin to respect your word. You begin to feel the quiet pride of becoming someone who does not give up on themselves. When patterns change, your entire life shifts. Your energy increases, your focus sharpens, your confidence stabilizes. You no longer feel like you are fighting yourself every day. Instead, you feel aligned. Your actions begin supporting your goals instead of sabotaging them. You stop blaming circumstances because you realize you are no longer living on autopilot. You are making choices, and when you make choices consistently, you regain control. Control creates freedom. Freedom creates peace. One day, you look back and realize that the version of you that once felt impossible to escape no longer exists. You are no longer that person. You are someone new, and that is the real victory. Breaking patterns is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming conscious. Conscious of your power. Conscious of your direction. Conscious of the fact that your future is not determined by your past, but by what you choose to repeat starting now. This is where transformation truly begins. A powerful moment arrives when you realize your patterns are not your personality, they are learned responses. They were built from past experiences, past fears, and past coping mechanisms, and anything learned can be unlearned. This realization alone is enough to unlock your future, because it means your limitations are not permanent. You are not broken, you are trained, and training can be changed. But most people never reach this awareness. They confuse their habits with their identity and defend them as if changing would erase who they are. In truth, changing is how you finally become who you are meant to be. The mind resists this because it fears the unknown, even when the known is painful. Growth demands you walk into uncertainty with courage, trusting that the version of you on the other side is stronger, wiser, and freer than the one you are leaving behind. Every pattern survives because it gives you something. It may give comfort, familiarity, distraction, control, or protection from emotional pain. If you want to break a pattern, you must first understand what it is giving you. Only then can you replace it with something healthier. This is the work of transformation. You are not simply removing habits, you are restructuring the emotional architecture of your life. When you stop running from discomfort, you discover that discomfort is not your enemy. It is the messenger guiding you toward growth. Patterns collapse when they no longer serve your survival. And the moment you realize you are no longer the person who needs them, their power over you begins to fade. One of the hardest patterns to break is the identity of victimhood. It feels safer to blame circumstances, people, and the past than to accept responsibility for the present. But this pattern quietly destroys your future because it gives away your power. Responsibility is not blame, it is ownership. When you take ownership of your choices, you reclaim your ability to change. Without ownership, your life remains something that happens to you. With ownership, your life becomes something you create. This shift alone can break years of stagnation. The moment you stop waiting for permission, healing, approval, or rescue, your patterns begin to lose their grip. Another pattern that traps people is the cycle of emotional avoidance. Instead of feeling sadness, fear, loneliness, or uncertainty, they escape through activity, stimulation, or numbness. But emotions do not disappear when ignored. They accumulate. They shape your behavior from the shadows. And the longer they are suppressed, the more control they gain. Breaking this pattern means learning how to sit with your emotions without judgment, without escape, without fear. This is where real strength is forged. Emotional honesty builds emotional freedom. And emotional freedom is one of the greatest forms of power a human being can possess. Patterns also live inside your self-talk. The way you speak to yourself becomes the script of your life. If you constantly repeat messages of doubt, fear, and limitation, your behavior will follow those commands. Your mind listens to every word you say about yourself. When you change the language of your inner world, you change the direction of your outer world. This is not positive thinking. This is neurological conditioning. Thought patterns create emotional patterns. Emotional patterns create behavioral patterns. And behavioral patterns create destiny. Breaking old patterns also requires patience. There will be moments when you fall back into familiar behavior. This does not mean you are failing, it means you are learning. Progress is not the absence of mistakes, it is the refusal to quit. Each time you choose differently, even for a moment, you weaken the old pattern and strengthen the new one. Over time, the balance shifts. What once felt difficult becomes natural. What once felt impossible becomes your normal. Your nervous system plays a powerful role in your patterns. Many behaviors are not chosen consciously, but driven by stress responses built from the past. When you feel overwhelmed, unsafe, or uncertain, your body seeks familiar coping mechanisms. This is why transformation must include emotional regulation. As you learn to calm your nervous system, your need for destructive patterns begins to dissolve. Safety within yourself creates the foundation for lasting change. Breaking patterns also changes your relationships. When you evolve, the dynamic with others shifts. Some people will grow with you. Some will resist your change. Some will exit your life. This is not loss. This is alignment. You are no longer the same person, and your environment must reflect that truth. Growth demands space. It demands new boundaries. It demands courage to release what no longer fits who you are becoming. Eventually, your new patterns form a new identity. You no longer have to fight yourself every day. Your habits support your goals. Your mind supports your growth. Your actions support your future. This alignment creates peace. Not the peace of comfort, but the peace of knowing you are walking your true path. You stop fearing change because you understand that staying the same is far more dangerous. You become someone who adapts, evolves, and rises, and that person is unstoppable. Transformation is not a moment, it is a commitment, a daily decision to choose your future over your past. And when you stay committed long enough, the patterns that once controlled your life become the foundation of the strength that now defines it. Your life begins again the moment you stop repeating what is breaking you and start building what will save you. Chapter 7. Take responsibility before it's too late. There comes a moment in every person's life when excuses stop working, when the stories you tell yourself about why things are the way they are no longer bring comfort, only regret. This is the moment responsibility begins. Responsibility is not about blame, it is about power. The moment you accept that your life is shaped by your choices more than your circumstances, you reclaim control of your future. Most people avoid this truth because it feels heavy. It means you cannot hide behind your past, your environment, or other people anymore. It means the life you are living is, to a large degree, the result of what you have tolerated, chosen, and repeated. This realization is painful, but it is also the doorway to freedom. Without responsibility, you remain a passenger in your own existence. With responsibility, you become the driver. Taking responsibility forces you to confront your patterns without denial. You stop pretending that time will fix what you refuse to face. You stop waiting for someone else to change before you do. You stop blaming the world for the life you are unwilling to build. This shift in mindset is not comfortable, but it is powerful. It awakens a strength in you that excuses keep asleep. Responsibility demands that you look at your habits, your decisions, and your priorities honestly, and once you do, you can no longer unsee the truth. The way you live becomes your responsibility. The way you think becomes your responsibility. The way you respond to difficulty becomes your responsibility. And with that ownership comes the ability to transform everything. Many people fear responsibility because they associate it with pressure and failure. In reality, responsibility is what releases you from helplessness. When you accept responsibility, you no longer wait for life to happen to you. You begin shaping it intentionally. You stop reacting and start leading. Your confidence grows not from positive thinking, but from consistent action aligned with your values. You begin to trust yourself because you keep your word to yourself. This self-trust becomes the foundation of resilience. Even when life becomes difficult, you no longer collapse into victimhood. You rise into problem solving. You become someone who moves forward no matter what. The cost of avoiding responsibility is paid slowly. It shows up as stagnation, frustration, resentment, and regret. You watch others build lives while you remain in the same place. You feel capable of more, yet stuck where you are. This gap between your potential and your reality creates quiet suffering, and the longer you avoid responsibility, the wider that gap becomes. One day, the weight of lost time becomes heavier than the fear of change. That is when many people finally wake up, but by then they wish they had acted sooner. That regret is one of the most painful emotions a human can experience. Responsibility also demands that you stop lying to yourself. You stop calling fear being careful. You stop calling laziness rest. You stop calling distraction relaxation. You stop calling comfort happiness. These small lies keep you trapped. Responsibility replaces them with clarity, and clarity forces action. You begin seeing your life as a reflection of your daily choices rather than a result of luck or fate. This shift is uncomfortable because it removes all excuses, but it is also empowering because it gives you something far greater: control. When you take responsibility, your standards change. You stop settling for what is easy and start demanding what is meaningful. You no longer tolerate behaviors that sabotage your future. You become disciplined not because you enjoy discipline, but because you respect your life. You realize that your future deserves your effort today. This awareness reshapes your priorities. You protect your time. You guard your energy. You choose growth over comfort. And slowly, your life begins to transform. Responsibility also changes how you handle pain. Instead of avoiding it, you use it. You learn from it. You let it refine you. You stop asking why this happened to me and start asking what can this teach me. This mindset turns obstacles into training grounds and hardship into strength. You no longer collapse under pressure. You rise through it. Taking responsibility means accepting that no one is coming to rescue you. This truth is frightening at first, but once you accept it, something incredible happens. You stop waiting. You stop hoping. You start building. You become the person you were waiting for. Your future will not be decided by your intentions. It will be decided by your actions. And your actions will always reflect the level of responsibility you are willing to take for your life. The moment you take full responsibility, your life begins to accelerate. You waste less time. You hesitate less. You move with purpose. You stop drifting and start directing. There is no perfect time to take responsibility. There is only now. Every day you delay, the cost increases. Every day you act, the burden lightens. You do not become powerful when life becomes easy. You become powerful when you decide that your life is worth fighting for. Responsibility is not a burden. It is the greatest form of freedom. And the day you fully accept it is the day your life truly begins. Do not wait until it is too late. Responsibility becomes real when you stop negotiating with your conscience, when the quiet voice inside you says, you know what you need to do, and instead of silencing it, you finally listen. Most people spend years muting that voice. They drown it in excuses, distractions, and comparisons. But it never leaves, it waits, and the longer you ignore it, the heavier it becomes. Taking responsibility means respecting that voice and acting on it, even when the action feels uncomfortable, inconvenient, or frightening. This is where maturity is born, not in age, not in knowledge, but in the willingness to confront yourself honestly. You stop blaming your past for your present and start building your future deliberately. Responsibility is the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. When you take responsibility, you stop seeking permission to live fully. You no longer wait for approval, validation, or reassurance. You realize that your life is not a group project. The direction of your existence is not up for debate. This realization gives you a new kind of courage. You begin making choices that align with your deepest values instead of your temporary emotions. You stop betraying your future to comfort your present. This shift is not loud or dramatic, but it is life-changing. Quiet decisions made consistently become the architecture of a powerful life. Responsibility also changes how you view failure. Instead of running from mistakes, you analyze them. You extract lessons. You improve. You no longer see failure as a verdict on your worth, but as feedback for your growth. This mindset creates resilience. You stop collapsing when things go wrong and start adapting when they do. You become flexible, resourceful, and persistent. And these traits compound over time, creating unstoppable momentum. Taking responsibility means refusing to live in denial. You confront your weaknesses directly. You stop pretending certain habits are harmless. You stop rationalizing the behaviors that keep you small. You become brutally honest with yourself, not out of self-hatred, but out of self-respect. This honesty becomes your compass. It points you toward the life you know you are capable of building. Responsibility also deepens your relationships. When you stop projecting your frustrations onto others, your connections become healthier. You communicate more clearly. You listen more openly. You respond instead of react. You take ownership of your emotions rather than expecting others to manage them for you. This emotional maturity strengthens every bond in your life. The weight of responsibility can feel heavy at first, but that weight is actually the pressure of potential. You are stepping into the role of creator instead of victim. And while that role demands effort, it also gives you something priceless: agency. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You become the one shaping them. As responsibility becomes your default, your life begins to organize itself. Your priorities sharpen, your goals clarify, your energy aligns. You stop scattering yourself across too many directions and start moving with focus. This focus builds confidence. Confidence builds courage. Courage builds momentum, and momentum builds transformation. You stop seeking shortcuts because you understand that every meaningful change requires commitment. You stop chasing inspiration and start relying on discipline. You stop hoping for motivation and start creating consistency. Responsibility becomes the engine of your progress. The moment you fully accept responsibility, you stop feeling lost. Direction emerges naturally. You begin to trust yourself again. You become reliable to your own promises. And that self-trust becomes the foundation of peace. Eventually, you look back and realize the person you once were would not recognize the strength you now carry. And you will know that it was responsibility, not luck, not circumstance, not timing that made the difference. You are not here to merely exist. You are here to build, to grow, to rise. And the life you want is waiting on the version of you who is willing to take responsibility for it. Chapter 8. Start living the life you were meant to live. There comes a moment when you finally understand that the life you are living is not the life you were meant to live. Not because your life is bad, but because it is incomplete. Something inside you knows that there is more growth, more purpose, more strength, more truth. This awareness is not accidental. It is the signal that your higher self is calling you forward. Ignoring it is how people stay trapped in comfort and familiarity. Listening to it is how transformation begins. You were not designed to merely survive your days. You were designed to shape them, to build something meaningful, to become someone you respect. The moment you accept this, your entire relationship with your life changes. You stop drifting. You stop waiting. You stop settling. And in that decision, everything starts to shift. Living the life you were meant to live begins with honesty. You must admit when you are living below your potential. You must acknowledge the ways you have compromised your dreams for convenience. This honesty is painful, but it is also liberating. It clears the fog. It removes the excuses. It gives you a starting point. Without honesty, change is impossible. With it, everything becomes possible. You begin to see your life clearly, not as a story you tell yourself, but as a reality you can reshape. This clarity becomes your foundation. The life you were meant to live does not arrive through luck or chance. It is built through intentional choices made consistently over time. These choices are often uncomfortable. They require sacrifice. They demand courage, but they also unlock a level of fulfillment that comfort can never provide. You stop chasing pleasure and start building meaning. You stop avoiding pain and start using it as fuel. This is where real living begins. Most people spend their lives preparing to live instead of actually living. They wait for the perfect moment, the right conditions, the ideal version of themselves. But life is not waiting for you to become ready. It is waiting for you to become willing, willing to try, willing to fail, willing to grow, willing to begin again. The life you want is not on the other side of perfection. It is on the other side of action. Living fully also means releasing the fear of judgment. You stop shaping your choices around what others expect. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces you have outgrown. You start honoring your own values, your own vision, your own truth. This independence is not selfish, it is necessary. You cannot live your life if you are constantly performing for others. As you align your actions with your purpose, your energy changes, your confidence stabilizes, your mind becomes calmer. You stop fighting yourself every day. Instead, you begin supporting yourself. This inner alignment is what creates peace. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of direction. The life you were meant to live requires you to become the person who can carry it. You build discipline, patience, courage, and resilience. You stop asking life to be easier and start making yourself stronger. This growth transforms how you experience everything. You begin choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. You invest in your future even when the reward is not immediate. You trust the process because you trust yourself. Slowly, your days begin to reflect your values. Your actions align with your goals. Your identity evolves. You are no longer who you were. You are becoming who you were meant to be. Living your true life also means letting go of who you thought you had to be. You release old identities, outdated beliefs, and limiting narratives. You make space for your authentic self to emerge. This process is not fast, but it is real, and it is worth it. One day you wake up and realize you are no longer chasing life, you are living it. You are no longer surviving your days. You are building them. You are no longer waiting for meaning. You are creating it. This is the moment your life truly begins. Living the life you were meant to live requires you to unlearn the belief that your circumstances define your destiny. Your environment may shape your starting point, but it does not dictate your destination. The moment you accept that your future is created by your decisions rather than your conditions, your sense of possibility expands. You stop seeing yourself as trapped and start seeing yourself as responsible. This shift is powerful because it places your life back into your hands. You stop waiting for rescue and start building your escape. Not an escape from life, but an escape into the life you were born to experience. The life meant for you demands that you release comparison. Comparison poisons contentment and clouds direction. When you constantly measure your progress against others, you lose connection with your own path. Your journey is unique. Your timing is yours. The life you were meant to live cannot be discovered through someone else's success. It must be built through your own courage. When you stop comparing, your energy returns to where it belongs, your own growth. You must also make peace with uncertainty. The life meant for you will not always come with clear instructions. There will be moments when the path feels invisible, when the next step is unclear. But clarity comes from movement, not from waiting. Each action reveals the next. Each risk teaches you more about yourself. You are not meant to have all the answers. You are meant to become the person who can handle the questions. Living fully requires emotional courage. You stop numbing yourself. You stop hiding from pain. You stop pretending everything is fine when it is not. You allow yourself to feel deeply, because feeling deeply is part of being alive. When you face your emotions honestly, they stop controlling you from the shadows. You gain emotional intelligence, and with it, emotional freedom. You also learn to honor your time. You become selective about where your energy goes. You protect your mornings, your focus, your boundaries. You stop giving your life to distractions and obligations that do not serve your purpose. Your calendar becomes a reflection of your values. This alignment creates momentum. The life meant for you requires discipline, but not the kind rooted in punishment. It is the discipline of devotion. Devotion to your future, devotion to your growth, devotion to becoming someone you respect. This form of discipline becomes a source of strength rather than suffering. You also begin choosing presence over perfection. You stop postponing your life until everything is ideal. You start living fully in the middle of uncertainty, imperfection, and progress. Life is not waiting for you to become flawless. It is waiting for you to participate. Living your true life means becoming comfortable with solitude. You learn to enjoy your own company. You stop needing constant approval or validation. Your inner world becomes stable. And from that stability, you create strong relationships, not dependent ones. As you continue this journey, your definition of success changes. It is no longer about image, status, or approval. It becomes about alignment, peace, and purpose. You measure success by how true you are to yourself. You begin building your life intentionally. Each decision becomes an act of creation. Each habit becomes a vote for your future. Each challenge becomes an opportunity for growth. Eventually, your life begins to feel like it belongs to you, not to expectations, not to fear, not to the past. To you, you realize that the life you were meant to live was never somewhere else. It was always waiting for you to step into it. And when you finally do, everything changes. In the end, your life will not be measured by what you intended to do, but by what you actually did. Every moment you delayed, every opportunity you ignored, every day you chose comfort over courage quietly shaped the story of your life. The most dangerous thing about wasting your life is that it doesn't feel like danger while it's happening. It feels normal. But now you are aware, and awareness changes everything. You still have time. You still have choices. You still have the power to rewrite your direction. What you do next matters more than anything you've done before. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. It doesn't exist. Start where you are. Use what you have. Become who you must. Because the future, you will either thank you or blame you for what you do right now.